Nope.
All right. Welcome to our call recording. As Erica said, snack and learn. You can pass the cookies around if you want snacks. Why don't we do that? Have everybody. So kind. Sure. Okay. Eric brought in the donuts today. Yeah. But anyway, there have been a lot of questions coming up about our call recording and, you know, what does this mean? What does that mean? And I've worked a lot with HandyPro recently and answering a lot of their questions. And so I thought, what a great idea to kind of take all the information that I learned and throw it out there in a presentation. So hopefully we can answer a lot of your questions and get to the nuances. Now, as you know, there's the three different areas. There's the call center reporting. I'm not going to be talking about call center reporting today. At the end, if we have time, if you guys have questions, we can go through it. But it's mostly the call history and analytics. So the call history portion and analytics pulls from call history. So that data is exactly the same. Call center reports is actually a completely different database, and I mean, it pulls differently. So, yeah. Okay. Here we go. All right, so what I did is I pulled all of these slides from a super user view. And so the first thing that I wanted to do is just kind of go through each of the columns and talk about why we have the columns and what some of these mean. So the QoS, I don't know if you guys noticed this. I didn't really notice that we have that as a super user. We've got the QoS field. Our customers don't see that. Okay, so this is just an FYI for you. When we were QAing NQS server through NetSapiens maybe a year or so ago, we used to get QoS values, but we are using our own version of NQS. We're not using NetSapiens, so that's why that won't populate. So just disregard the QoS field. Kind of the first thing I wanted to say. Let me see. And also the to name never populates as well, and that's for our customers and for us. When we do internal calls, like this one, Jason calling 243, I think that's Dan, that should say Dan LaParle there. But so Dan Hipley is going to figure out why that's not populating. So I don't know if anyone ever had a customer ask why that's okay. One of those things. Let me see. And then, as you know, in the to field, it'll always show what the user device, and then NMS, that means that that was an abandoned call within the auto attendant. Okay, so questions? Any of this? Oh, and then the duration. So the duration always includes the wait time. So the duration is the full from connect time to disconnect time. Okay. All right. And then just a quick, this is the two-party answering the call. So inbound call and outbound call. That's a pretty simple slide. And the next one, this is where an example of the caller hanging up in the auto attendant, it will say NMS. I don't know if you guys remember seeing that.
Does it ever say NMS when it's not an auto attendant right there?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm trying to think of all the different scenarios.
And I'm going to keep an eye on it because that's where I've seen it. And I don't think that caller had an auto attendant, but they may have. So now you're telling me that, I'm sure they did.
I've seen it before when they hung up in a queue sometimes too. So it's like while waiting.
So I've also got, oh yeah, I mean there's all different ones. There's one that says call queue. This one, I got that to appear when I had an abandoned call in the queue call back. So I was in a queue callback queue, and then when I abandoned during the message, not when it was ringing, but during the message, then it shows up as auto attendant, that word. I know, so it's really, the calls, when you hang up, it's almost like milliseconds of, at the point of hanging up, is when they're going to report something in the to field. All right. Then here is an example, as Abby said, of where the caller hung up as they were entering the queue, but they have not yet started to ring an agent. So these are all examples of abandoned calls. Here's another example of where the call was in queue 305 and it was ringing an agent. So if you ever see the call queue, you know that it's ringing an agent, but looking at call history, you don't know which agent it was ringing. You just know that the call was abandoned when it was ringing an agent. And then here is an example of a call that left the queue, was going to voicemail, and the call abandoned during the voicemail greeting. They did not leave a voicemail. So in my eyes, it really is erroneous information because it did not go to voicemail of 300, but that is the last state that the call was in before the next date of leaving a voicemail. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you've seen voicemail 300, and voicemail is never provisioned on 300.
Right, right. So it's just one of those that there's a customer asks you, what does that mean? It means that was the last state that the call was in when they abandoned or hung up. So it doesn't mean that they actually left a voicemail in 300.
Cool.
And then, of course, here's your queue callback call. Seen that? All the way down the college history.
Last Tuesday? Was it last Tuesday?
When we had that outage situation? Oh, that was bad. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what a queue callback call is.
Oh, sorry. Oh, good for you to know. Okay. So a queue callback is, you probably may have used it before with other companies where you call in, and they'll say, all agents are busy. Press 1 to get a call, keep your place in line and receive a call back. We have that feature. We don't promote it a whole lot because of our type of customer base. Because in order for the feature to work, you can't have a when unanswered rule entered. So here in our support department, there is no when unanswered. Our phones just ring until 9 o'clock at night. So it works for us. But for most of our customers that need their calls answered, service-based customers, if they're not answered, they go to an answering service or a voicemail. They can't have that feature. Right. Yeah. So there might be one other customer. Does Oxy use it? No. I think there might be one other customer that uses it.
Yeah, there is. I forgot who it is, but I remember him having an issue with it because he had it for his after hours. And no one would be in the office, so he'd come into the office and see like 10,000 missed calls or something.
Oh my God.
That was just a bad idea.
Church services uses it. They love it.
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely for a daytime queue. That would be fine.
Sure he learned his lesson.
When you know the call will eventually get answered.
Yeah, I think he had it for his daytime, but he left early one day and he was like, I'm leaving a half an hour early, so it'll be fine. And then the calls just kept coming in until like the time frame ended, but it would keep ringing the phones.
Yeah.
And then he'd come in and be like, why do I have 10,000 missed calls?
Oh my God.
That's horrifying.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So this is when, the user called in and they prompted a call back, and it called them back, and they hung up on that.
And
they abandoned it.
So what it's doing is, it is calling, like in this instance, our PBX was calling 1106, saying, hey, there's a call. I think 1106 didn't answer it, so then the next one would have said, call someone else. So how it works too, as soon as somebody hangs up, an agent, then that person that left their number, press 1, they're the next person in line. So the PBX will call the available agent. But the problem with the feature, the second problem I don't like, is it only rings your phone once. Right? Is it once or twice?
Twice.
Twice,
but
thank you.
Yeah.
But
So
still,
fast.
it's too short, because then you see, it's like the whack-a-mole with the lights on the phone, twice, and then you're trying to catch the call, and you're So that's hard. So we put in a feature request to be able to toggle that and change that. So, yeah, so it'll ring everybody just twice and then move on to the next available agent and then the next one and keep going around.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's, for those who haven't experienced it, when you do pick it up, it'll say, press 1 to
Yeah.
call back. So you hit 1 and then it'll dial back out to that number
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and then you have no idea who you're calling.
Right.
That freaks me out.
Yeah, because they'll just answer, hello, this is whatever, and you're like, this is Clarity Support, and usually they'll say like, oh yeah, I just called you.
Yeah.
I got a weird one last week that said, queue callback.
Uh-huh.
So I picked it up, waiting for it to say, please press 1 to accept. It actually started ringing, and then it called the customer. But I never got a please press 1 to accept.
Oh, it just
Yeah.
automatically, oh,
That's weird.
Yeah, because I even had Eric look at the trace. I don't know what came of it, but it was very strange.
That is weird. Yeah, normally you do have to press 1. I don't know. All right, questions on queue call? All right, so call history. So, it says max range is 31 days. I went 31 days and it wouldn't let me. So it's actually 30 days. So you can only go back 30 days, but we do keep the CDRs, as you know, for 365 days. For the user, I also found something else that I can't filter by name. So if I typed in Abby, it wouldn't work, but you can type in user like 370 or Q user or the extension. So just in case a customer says, hey, I'm trying to type in the name, that's a bug. And it's funny that we've never really noticed that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so you can filter by caller number, either 10 or 11 digits. So when the caller, yes, so caller number either by 10 or 11 digit, and it will produce all of the results. Now, if you filter by 11 digits, like here, I clicked on the filter, and I typed in 1 and then the full 11-digit number. Now, if I filter by 10, and so it literally will only look for the number for people that dialed 1. If you filter by 10 digits of dialed numbers, then it'll take all of the 11-digit and the 10-digit numbers.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a little gotcha.
Yeah.
I figured that out one day when a customer was complaining. So again, if you, like, I don't know, I'm old school. I continue to dial 11-digit all the time, even though we have voice phones. And so when I look up, I always have to put in 11. You dial 11 too? Yeah, I think it is.
I think I'm gonna get in trouble, so I try to remember to do 10, and then I'm like, I have to dial the 1, like I feel like I got away with something.
You go, girl.
Little touches.
Yeah. So if you filter by 10 digits, then it'll catch everything. But if you filter by 11, it'll literally only pick up the 11. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's just one of those. Gotcha. All right. Let me see. So if you filter by missed calls down here, it's literally only going to show the missed calls. If you filter by inbound, it's going to show you inbound calls plus missed calls. Because it's everything inbound. A missed call is still inbound. It's just missed. So again, filters, you can filter by inbound, outbound, missed. All inbound, no matter what happened to the call, outbound, or just a missed. And then a missed call in the call history is considered a call that went to voicemail or an abandoned call. An abandoned call, whether it was abandoned while ringing, abandoned while waiting, abandoned in the auto attendant, all of those are all considered missed calls. Questions so far? Good. Okay. Now, when you filter by, let's say I filter by missed calls and I filter by user, I don't really recommend doing that. And here's why. I recommend really just by filtering by missed calls. So because you're gonna get a little bit of a discrepancy. So the first thing, like, let's go from the bottom. Here's the first call at 1:51. This caller hung up during a ringing state, because I pulled up the trace for each of these. This second call was blind transferred to voicemail. This call was disconnected by NMS, because no voicemail was set up. So actually, so Abby, was that your question of when does NMS appear?
Yeah.
This would be a second example of
Okay.
actually our PBX NMS hanging up saying, there's no voicemail, I don't know what to do with this, I'm gonna hang up on you.
Oh.
And then this one, call redirected to voicemail. So if the filter was set by missed calls and a user, then, and the user answered the call and then subsequently blind transferred that call, it's gonna show up as a missed call because the originating leg, that transferred the call had a ringing state when it was blind transferred. Does that make sense? I don't think that makes sense. So the originating leg of the call was disconnected during the ringing state. So I take a call, I transfer it to Abby. When I blind transfer, I don't know if Abby's there, I'm just sending the call to her. So the call during a ringing state, I hung up, so now it shows a missed call on me. So it's a little bit erroneous.
Oh, okay.
So it is very weird. So that's why I say don't sort by user and missed calls because of how missed calls calculates everything. So this just was an example of a customer, you know, they were having a problem and I did a screenshot one day and I was like, yeah, that's something I should probably talk about, to not have customers sort by user. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Don't sort by user.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because the call, again, you know, it was in a ringing state when I disconnected, when it was going to Abby, and so it's showing as a missed call. Okay. All right. So, what happened with this call? Why does it show NMS? Can you guys see that far away?
Because it went to the cell phone. I don't know. 2422.
Not enough numbers?
Yeah. Who said that, Adam?
Adam.
Good one. I know it's hard to see, but yeah, that's only a 9-digit number. So whoever was 2422 was trying to dial that, and it was a 9-digit number, and NMS was like, yeah, that's not right. Okay, so that's another NMS reason right there. Okay, what happened with this call? We'll have to guess.
Hung up during the auto.
They hung up.
Yeah, yeah, it abandoned in our auto attendant. And one way of figuring it out is, you know that it called our support line, and the duration is 17 seconds. And that's something that I always look at our customers' auto attendants. I'll look and see what is the duration of the message, and if it's typically around 10, 15 seconds, and I'll say, oh, well, then they just hung up in the auto attendant. Yeah. All right. What happened with this call? What does geo mean? What were you doing, Abby?
Great question. What was I doing?
Well, it lasted for a while.
Right?
So the first thing that you can see is, by looking at the time, if it is the exact time, then you know it's the same call. And with our call history, I didn't state that at the beginning, with our call history and with NetSapiens, is they will literally list every single leg of the call. So if I take a call and I transfer it to Abby, and then Abby transfers to Erica, that like every single leg of the call will be listed, but the time will be exactly the same.
This is a click to call.
It is a click to call. Yes. So Abby did the click to call here, where she was calling herself, or dialed this number, and then the resulting was it actually called on net NMS, and it was 1 minute and 47 seconds. So whenever you see Geo, like for Luann, I see Geo a lot for your extension. So you must use click to call a lot? Okay. Yeah.
I do.
So our customers won't necessarily, they won't see Geo, I mean, unless maybe for smartware? No, because they don't click
No.
through ours, they click
Yeah,
through
there.
actually smartware itself. All right, so that's just if you see it on our domain, what that means. All right, what happened with this call?
Oh, Melissa was trying to pick up the call.
Yes, yep. So Mel, saw a flashing red extension, you know, the ARL, and this is Mark, Yash, 247. He was flashing red and she pressed his to pick up. So the star 87 is to pick up a call. So any customer could have this in their call history if you set up ARLs for them. So obviously, if they just push the ARL, that's just an internal call. But if there's a call ringing that extension and it's flashing red and they push that button, they're actually picking up that call. All right. What happened with this call? Is there two calls or one call?
Happened at the same time.
One call, yes, it happened at the same time, exact same time, so it's one call. And what do you think?
The transfer to
Yes.
section 220 and they've been
Correct, yep. So, 1100, in this case, TJ answered the call. So TJ's call duration was 2 minutes and 46 seconds. He could have talked to the person for 2 minutes and 46 seconds, or the caller could have waited for 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and that's actually what they did. Unfortunately, the caller waited that long. TJ answered it, and they asked for April. TJ transferred it to April. She wasn't available, and so the call went right to April's voicemail. So the call in its entirety was 3 minutes and 43 seconds. So there was almost a minute long, well, between TJ talking and then the voicemail being left for April, almost a minute long. Questions on that? Okay, so for call reporting. Now, one thing, here are some examples, and I'll tell you what the call did with each line, but what I wanted to illustrate is the export function. When you click export, you're exporting the calls, the CDRs to Excel. And Sapiens will literally get into the minutia detail of the call. What they don't have when you export to Excel is the call type. So for example, those same 4 calls I exported to Excel. So let's start with the bottom call at 7:37 in the morning. So this call, what do you think happened with this call, the one at the bottom? All you can do is really, yeah. It was answered. Yeah.
That's where I was going.
Yep, good. Yeah, so it was answered. So it looks like it was answered, yes, and, exported, and it's got the same information, it was answered, 21 seconds long. Now, the second call, this call, it shows the exact same time, but it was the second call because, just trust me, it was the second call. When I did this, I did the examples too close together. And you can see that the voicemail of 221 down here and voicemail 221 down there. So far, that looks the same. Now, the third call, what do you think happened with the third call, which is this one right here at 7:40 a.m.?
Hung up.
an auto attendant.
Yep, it hung up in the auto attendant. And so it appears funky like that, but that's how it downloads in Excel. And then the last call, which is at 7:55 a.m. Look at the difference. When you export it to Excel, it looks like it was answered. When it's here listed in the call history, it says it went to 3:06. Yeah, so that's the big difference, and that's the confusing part when you're trying. I've had customers download and then they'll compare, you know, what they download to call history. Well, what's happening is, as we talked about before, if the call was abandoned, whatever queue it was in when it abandoned, whatever the state, it'll show. So 3:06 was the queue that it was in when it abandoned. Well, when you export it, and then from here, we can't see who was it, what agent it was ringing. When you export the information, it will show what agent was ringing. So this agent was ringing when the call abandoned.
So if it was a ring all queue, would it show multiple extensions?
No, because you can only have one call to one extension at any point in time. Like it's literally a fraction of a second will report. Like there's no way that it can say it was ringing everybody. It's literally ringing Erica a fraction of a second ahead of Adam, or yeah.
What would it show then in the exported Excel? Like, would it show just the call queue number then? Or would it just be blank?
It'll show the one agent that it was
fraction.
ringing. Yeah. So if it was ringing 5 agents, it'll just show the one agent that it was ringing. It won't show all 5 agents that were ringing.
Okay.
So you
Would it just randomly pick one, or would it be the first extension that was added into the call queue?
Well, because it's, I guess that's a good question. I would have to do more testing. But literally with calls, it can only go to one point, even though it says a ring all, each phone is like a fraction of a second difference.
So I guess just knowing what kind of queue it's ringing would be helpful. Like if you knew if it was like a cascade and it said 221, it may have actually been ringing 221.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, but if a customer wants to know, like, I've got all of these agents and they should be answering the phone and I need to know who's not answering, then they really need to have the call center package. You really need to have them in a round robin, and they should look at that missed call report or that missed call column in the agent stats view. So this really isn't a good indicator of how are your agents doing, what missed calls do they have. Yeah, because as you know, with a ring all, it's going to ring 5 people at once. So, you're going to have a lot of missed calls if other people are answering the call. But, so one thing that we've asked NetSapiens is to put a column in here to say call type. Is it answered? Is it missed? You know, that sort of thing. Because, like I said, this first one and this last one look exactly the same, but they're totally different. The first one was answered, the last one was missed.
Are there any more columns or anything, or is that it?
That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's all it. Yeah, NetSapiens export. So we're putting in a feature request for that type. So, questions? You guys hot?
I feel good.
Okay.
It feels so good compared to out there. It's like the tundra out there.
I like the tundra.
Do you?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
And my flip-flops all winter, yes, I do.
What?
Yeah, you like flip-flops too, don't you?
I'll probably wear shoes in, but then I have a pair of flip-flops with the shoe while I'm here.
All right. Fun with calls. What happened with these calls? Let's start with 901. Let's start with the bottom. As you know, that's just how, the oldest ones are at the bottom. What do you think? Now, these were exported to Excel. Okay? So it shows 205. So what happened with that call at 901?
Answered.
Or,
Okay. You're right. You're right and you're right. We don't know. We don't know. It was actually a missed call, but we don't know. So both answers are right. What about this one at 12:55? What happened with that call?
They left a voice.
A long voicemail.
Yep, they, well, yep, they left a long voicemail. All right. 136, Speedwire, what happened with that call?
Hung up an auto attendant.
Yes, it did actually hang up in the auto attendant. 148, this call, the unassigned, what happened with that? Right. Yep, could be answered, could be missed, it was actually answered. What about this one at 156, market strategies?
It looks like it's answered.
That was definitely answered, yeah, 4 minute long, it definitely was. What about 207 from Pontiac?
Auto attendant probably.
Yeah, because it's only 10-second duration, so yeah, they definitely hung up in the auto attendant. 226, this one, Michael Deegan?
Answered.
Yeah, it definitely was answered with that call duration. What about this one, 339?
No.
It was actually a missed call. Yep, for 10 seconds, it was in a short conversation. And the last one, voicemail 350.
They hung up in the beginning stages of the queue voicemail picking up.
That's right. Well, of the persons, it actually was going to voicemail 200, but they hung up during that voicemail message playing. So, yeah, it reported it in voicemail 350. Good. All right. So, analytics, as I stated earlier, does pull all the same information as call history. So, within analytics, inbound calls do not include missed calls, voicemails, abandoned calls, transfer calls, any of that. So in analytics, inbound is inbound answered.
Oh, wait, I thought it includes missed.
Before this was added, right?
Right. Yeah. So we can look at an example too.
Okay.
So outbound calls does include dialing toggle codes, any kind of misdials. So if you're looking at doing outbound reporting, then you might want to use a duration filter. And I'll show you the duration filter. And then missed calls, anything not answered by the user, hunt group, queue, that sort of thing. So it doesn't include voicemail, calls that go to voicemail. All right, the duration filter. This is for outbound. So I did outbound sales calls this week. And if you go into the duration filter, what I did is I checked the box and added 10 seconds because that will get rid of any kind of misdial. Sales might say, I've made 100 calls this week. Well, but, 50 of them were bad numbers. It'll take all of those out. So this just shows you with the duration filter not applied. Like this was last week, Dan, 70 calls without the duration filter, 57 with it on. So it's a big difference. So when you're making outbound calls, so when you're educating customers and if they're looking at how many outbound calls that their agents are making, definitely turn on that duration filter. It'll show a big difference.
And that's just a setting as you're going through in the widget?
Yes.
Near the end? Okay.
Yes, and I'll show you, once I get through this, and then we'll do a couple. Okay. As a reminder, we've got the date filter. You can click on the calendar and analytics, and then choose your start date, end date. And remember, when you do last week, this week, whatever, it does include weekends. It is Sunday through Saturday. So that was another concern a customer had. They were confused because they were only looking at Monday through Friday. Yeah, so last week, this week does include weekends. There's also another filter. It's called combined results. I know you guys have seen that in analytics. And you use combined results when you do line graphs. So, for example, I wanted to see how many inbound calls for all of those phone numbers, and you have all the different lines. A lot of times, it's just easier if you check combined results and you've got just one nice graph. So, frankly, that's what that means. So, let me go through analytics and show you real quick. How am I logged in there? Oh, 3025, okay. No, we're just. All right, so if you wanted to, so Adam's question, call summary. If I wanted to look at last week, let's look at outbound calls for, oh, no, because the departments aren't set up. Hold on, let me go back to the Clarity domain. All right. So we'll do a call summary widget. Last week, let's look at tech support. And if we do outbound calls, so here's our inbound, outbound miss. So we separate them. And it'll fill in a name if you don't fill in a name. But were you asking the custom duration then? Okay, yep, so that's when we put that in. Put 10 seconds, 15 seconds, however many you want to put. And then it'll show us our outbound calls for last week.
I didn't know that you didn't have to name the widget.
No, you don't have
I always name it.
Yeah. So it said call summary for last week, so it picks whatever date range, and then it'll, yeah, you don't have to. So that'll tell you how we did. Luann,
Jeez.
you win.
Right?
No, you're not going to sales.
I'm so busy. I'm like,
I'm right behind you.
Yes. Look at you. Oh, Erica, 78.
there you go.
All right. Yeah, so those were those calls. Anyone have questions on the widget? Should I go over the voicemail one? We haven't really talked about this one in a while. The voicemail widget, this is a widget that Latham had wanted. They wanted to know how many people leave voicemails and those voicemails are not returned within 24 hours. So what we did is, I mean, it's not 100% accurate because what we did is counted the number of voicemails left and then looked at what caller ID came in and we matched it with a caller ID, like outbound to that same caller ID within the 24-hour period. So if somebody left a voicemail but left a different number to call out, then it would report as voicemail not returned. So it's not 100% accurate, but it gives you a good indication. So you would just click on voicemail stat. I checked on last week and I looked at the tech support department. And if I hit finish.
Did it help Latham though?
Not that much.
They haven't started using it, right?
Yeah, so too. They really wanted the widget where they wanted to know missed calls that weren't answered in one queue and went to another.
True.
Yeah. So this shows, I don't know why we have this little sign here. Yeah, so it'll show you the green are the ones that were responded to within 24 hours and the red not. So, okay, chit chat with Mr. Siddiq. Yeah. Questions on the analytics? I go for anything.
That's good.
Is this helpful?
Very.
Okay.
Yeah, Handy Pro had a lot of questions, and we spoke with a few of us, so now that we'll all be on the same page, I think that'll be smooth.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with customers, and you guys can, probably tell me that they'll look at call center reports and analytics and call history, and then they'll download it and they try and compare it all, and they want it to match exactly, and if it doesn't match exactly, then they They think there's something wrong with the system, but it's not gonna match exactly, as I just pointed out. When you download it, it's gonna, because we don't know if a call was either answered or missed, you know, when you download to Excel, it's not gonna match call history if you filter by inbound or missed, so
Yeah.
they have to pick you know, which ones that they want. Analytics is correct. I really like analytics, so I try and drive customers to analytics. And I try and drive them to always use the marketing number.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually the best way to filter it, by choosing the marketing number, and then, of course, for outbound calls by the user. So,
Yeah, I'll say, I had a couple recently, asking for widgets, looking for the inbound marketing number, like which numbers are getting the most calls,
yeah,
because they have them specified for different things. So, they found that was helpful.
good, good. Yeah, and I do love the custom date range, so if you don't want the weekends in there or whatever, you can always put that in there, that's nice.
The only one that I had a question coming into this, because somebody asked about it, and I don't think we can do it without looking at traces, was they were asking for calls that were hang-ups while on hold. Under specific, so like, if I answer and put them on hold and somebody hangs up because they're on hold too long, they were looking for that info, but I think we would have to look at the trace, correct?
Well, yeah, because it would show an abandoned call. See, the problem with call history is you see the multiple call legs. So you'll see the call leg that was answered, and if they put them on hold, well, if they didn't transfer them.
Didn't it?
Yeah, it would be an answered call, but then abandoned after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they had call park, could you do a widget for that?
That you should be able to go by user. So if we did add a widget,
Like they hung up in the call park?
7,400 abandoned call?
we would have to test it. We would have to test it on our domain. So for user, do we have 7,200? We probably do, yeah. And then maybe miss? I don't know. I'd have to test it and see. That's a good question.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. So Adam, what did you end up telling that customer?
I said, I could look into it, but to the best of my knowledge, it's gonna show as an answer. Yeah. I put them on hold now.
No, he didn't hang up.
No.
Okay. So maybe we should test that out. Have them use call park for the calls. Is it a big customer? Like, how many people would they put on hold?
I'd have to go back and check. It was a call center. They had like 4 or 5 different agents,
Oh, the goldfish one?
maybe.
Oh, okay.
This was a couple weeks ago.
Might be worth it to test that. It'd be interesting. to see.
Yeah, yeah. Because I wonder if there's a way that we could, the report that we have a report that tells us how long people wait in the queue, like if they're waiting 5 minutes or longer. But unfortunately, it includes wait time and hold time. So if you actually put somebody on hold, it combines those on the report. I don't know if we can actually get a report like that for the customer. Custom report. That would take some time to do. Yeah, I would really need to test it out for them. So let me know if they're really pushing for something like that, then we'll set up something in the lab and figure out a way to get them those numbers. Yeah, we don't use parks, obviously. Other questions?
So I'm just trying to like tap into the ones that I was like, I'm not sure. So like missed calls, the best indicator is just going to be analytics.
Yeah. So Yes, by marketing number. All right.
I haven't played with this at all.
No. Do you set up a couple widgets for customers when
No.
you do install? No? Do
No.
you go over it at all with them?
I do what I was taught, which is we tell them about it.
Yeah.
We show them the widgets. We
Yeah.
don't go through them,
Okay.
but we show them to them.
Yeah.
And then we give them, tell them there's a PDF document that comes that we're gonna send them that will
Yeah.
spell it all
What
out.
you do. And then you send them that. Yeah. What we really need is, I would love to set up widgets by brand. So
Oh, yeah.
talk to the corporate office, the franchisor, and say, what do you want your Gs to know? And then, so if the Zora says, I want to know how many missed calls, I want to know how many, calls that went to voicemail weren't returned. And so we would set those up, but actually in the domain build tool.
That
Have
would be
them
really cool.
pre-built, yeah. So then the franchisee just needs to go there and look at it.
Wow, that would
Not
be
actually
really nice.
built,
Yeah.
yeah, so, yeah, that's in the plan of
Yeah.
something we would like to do. Yeah. Okay, well, let me know if you guys have any other more questions.
Thank you, that was thorough.
Okay.
Appreciate it.